one of my flaws is I'm a procrastinator. So I'm the type of guy that likes to work out exactly how much time I need and then leave exactly that amount of time to get finished. But that's not how I grew up. So my mom, she hated being rushed. See, I like the rush. I like that end little run as you're running to the end, the adrenaline, the rush of it. My mom wasn't that. She hated being rushed. She'd always turn to me and say, "Do not rush me." She had a word for herself. She called herself a plodder. She said, "I plod. I get there when I get there." And she takes it slow and steady and consistent and keeps going. Kunle spoke about consistency, and that was my mom. My mom was, she was the main breadwinner in the home, and she did a lot for us. And her timekeeping wasn't as good as mine. We'll see at the end of this whether I actually manage it. But maybe I'm speaking too quickly now that my time has gone off. But she was consistent. And when I think about walking, I think about my mom, in that there was this consistent plod of, I keep going step by step. I will get there when I get there. It's a consistency. It's a regularity that comes with walking. Standing is kind of, there's no movement. Running, when I run, there's long pauses, it's stop, start. But walking is a consistent thing. It's an ongoing pattern in your life. And that's what I believe walking is about. My verse comes from Ephesians 5, verse 8 to 10. And it reads as this: "For at one time you were darkness, but now you are light. Walk as children of light, for the fruits of light is found in all that is good, right, and true." Another translation says, the fruit of light is what is goodness, righteousness, and truth. And try to discern what is pleasing to the Lord. So what is light? The first thing that God did when he created the world, he said, "Let there be light." See, light is the essence of his being. It's this thing that he reveals himself to us. Jesus says, "I am the light of the world." When God revealed himself to the Israelites, it was in a burning bush, or it was the pillar of fire at night. Psalm 119 says, "Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path." It is that thing that lights up our way. And in 1 John it says, "God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all." So our encouragement is to walk as children of light. And the first thing from that verse is that we are called to a transformation. You were darkness, now you are light. There's a change, there's a newness that comes with coming to Christ. There's a newness, there's a journey of being made holy. There's a point that we walk along to become more like Christ. We are a new creation. The old is gone and the new has come. And it's all about walking in perseverance. Like my mom would plod. It was a continuous and ongoing thing. James says, "Perseverance must finish its work, that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." See, walking is about perseverance. It's the keep on keeping on. And it's with that, as we walk in light, that we need to become more like Jesus. And it's that ongoing thing. Kunle mentioned it's about that ongoing, that continuity, that regularity, that brushing of your teeth. It's how do we keep on keeping on, walking in the light. It's not like me, where I pause and I wait, and then I run and I'm great and I win the race and I make it in time, and then I sit back and I relax. There's this continuity of carrying on that we need to do as walking in light. We're also called to reflect his light. When Moses went up the mountain to Sinai, he reflected the glory of God, and he actually had to cover his face. When the disciples at Pentecost, when they spoke, people recognized them and said they had been with Jesus. They recognized something that they reflected him and who he was. So what does it mean to reflect Jesus? Well, primarily, he's our source. He is the source of the light. It's not our own light. We reflect his glory and we reflect his goodness. There's when I grew up, used to get these armbands called, WWJD, What Would Jesus Do? It's based off an old book from, I think, the 1800s called In His Steps, but it was this radical thinking, and this was a fictional story, but it was this radical story about how men and women had looked at their situation and said, what would Jesus do in my situation? If he had to be in my life, how would he respond? And it's this radical revolution of looking at our lives and seeing what would God change in my life right now? And I think there's quite a bit that we need to understand of what God wants to do in us. The fruits of love are goodness, righteousness, and truth. How does it fit into our lives? How does it sit in what we do? Jesus said, "You are the light of the world. Let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." It's our good deeds, it's our ongoingness that reflects His glory. We need to, I think when we're in worship, I was just, as you do, you think about your message as you're about to speak. And just God reminded me, my daughter recently did an experiment where she scraped a whole lot of, she took earbuds and scraped like her phone and the toilet and a few other things and put it on some sort of agar type of solution, and then saw what grew. And this fungus grows, and it's really disgusting. It's this horrible gray color. But I feel that God's wanting to shine lights in the area where the light is not currently shining, and that fungus is growing. And that fungus can be things like anger, deceit, hatred, selfishness, lack of compassion. Couldn't he also mention a number of those fruits of the flesh that God wants to actually take out of our lives? He wants to shine His light into those areas and work through it. And it's not, again, it's that thing of how do I plod? How do I be consistent? How do I walk in this in a continuous fashion so that God works in our lives for His glory? It's that plodding on. It's like my mom. It's consistent, and it talks about changed lives. It's not something that we feel inspired to on a Sunday, and by Monday it's forgotten and we're back into the old run. God is calling us to be a different, a called out nation, and to walk in fullness.